So, what's different in Maya? First thing I noticed from the tutorial was that he dragged the torus from the polymodeling tab above. I later stumbled upon the hotkey. In Blender, we add objects with Shift+A. To do the same in Maya, Shift+hold right mouse button. Pretty straightforward. He added the torus shape and adjusted the scales to look like a donut. In Maya you move, W, rotate, E, and scale, R, as compared to Blender's move, G, rotate, R, and scale, S. Nothing fancy there, similar to Unreal Engine and 3D Slices my brain said. Followed along smoothly. Then he introduces how to select faces, edges and vertices in Maya. Hotkeys are F8 equals object mode, kinda, Maya F9 equals Blender 1, selects vertices, F10 equals 2, select edges, F11 equals 3, select faces, and in Maya you have an additional selection mode called multi-component in which you can select faces, edges and vertices all at the same time. Okay, that's a neat feature, kinda like in Unreal Engine. I don't think Blender has that yet, or correct me if I am wrong. In Maya you also have an additional selection mode, F12, which is for UV select. I have no idea what it does, so I am not going to try and compare that. Then the tutorial proceeds to introduce a hotkey B, which enables soft select. What is similar to that in Blender? Well, it is proportional edit with smooth fall off. However, to increase the size of selection you have to hold B+ along with holding middle mouse button to change scale. In Blender, the equivalent is O to turn on proportional edit and middle mouse scroll to change the area of influence. After the shape is ready, the tutorial proceeds to delete the history by type. Apparently it does something like lock the transformations before applying scale. So what is apply scale called in Maya? Good question. I had a hard time finding the option in the tab the second time I went over creating the donut without watching the tutorial. It was inside this panel. As you can see, the hotkey up there is the same as Blender, but originally there was no hotkey, so I went on to Windows, Setting, Hotkey Setting and binded it Ctrl+A like in Blender for easy use because I know how often I am gonna use it. So there's that. Renaming was quite straightforward. The outliner in Maya is placed on the left by default and transforms on the right. To hide objects it was H and to unhide it is Shift+H instead of Alt+H in Blender. For the icing, a similar process of duplicating and deleting the torus. In Maya, the duplicate button is Ctrl+D as compared to Shift+D in Blender. In Maya, when you press space, it does not play animation. Instead, it opens up 4 split panels with screen showing in order of screen 1 to 4. Apart from the second viewport, all others are locked, so you cannot toggle back to perspective accidentally. Good feature. In Blender you can do it by creating split views manually and pressing corresponding numbers on the numpad for each view. Also, pressing Ctrl+space in Maya is similar to going in full screen mode in Blender, except, in Blender you can go full screen on any of the tab. In Maya it seems the viewport always tags along. Maya experts let me know if I am making any false interpretations. To go into wireframe, in Maya you press 4 as compared to Z in Blender. After creating the icing I proceeded to use the extrude to make the icing thicker. Hotkey for extrude in Maya is Ctrl+E as compared to E in Blender. There is another extrude option called Smart Extrude, which feels similar to extrude along normals in Blender, which is accessed using Alt+E key. For some reason the extrude option had weird local or world space direction. In the tutorial it seemed to be working fine, but in my case I kept getting this. I checked a few random responses on Google and stumbled upon a couple of hotkeys to open up pie menus. Among them were 1. Hold Ctrl+ hold right mouse button 2. Hold Ctrl+ Shift+ hold right mouse button 3. And hold right mouse button. Each of them had their own list of different options, so I don't think it was fair to compare it to Blender features directly. After setting the thickness it was time to make the icing droop a bit on the sides. Then he introduces multi-cut, which is loop cut in Blender. In Maya the hotkey is Ctrl+Shift+X. I was like, that is pretty scary compared to Ctrl+R in Blender, but as I used it more and more, it started to make sense and felt easier as it's much closer on the keyboard. He did not explain how to select the entire edge loop in the tutorials, so I had to take another Google detour. In Maya, to select entire loop you hold down Shift plus double click on left mouse button. This feature feels pretty finicky to me. For sprinkles, the process is quite similar to creating the mesh in Blender, modeling on cylinder. By default the cylinders seem to have triangle fan cap in Maya as opposed to circular fill in Blender. To fill cylinder with edge loops I had to manually place the cuts, but clicking middle mouse button made it easier as it places the cuts evenly between each gap. In Blender it is done by scrolling the middle mouse button. I just gave it some extra bevels for mine for the edges. The tutorial proceeded to apply some bend on the third object, a feature similar to deform modifier greater than bend in Blender. It was accessed by going to deform, non-linear, bend. Next part which I was curious and excited for, what is the equivalent of particle system in Maya? Turns out it is a feature called mesh, something which is a sort of like a combination of geometry nodes and particle system in Blender. How is it different? Not very much in terms of the control parameters, but setting it up was slightly different. Firstly, the tutorial proceeds to line up all the sprinkle object together, then they were activated using mesh button. ID data felt similar to Blender's render as greater than object greater than instance object. Next part was telling Maya where to place the sprinkles. In Blender, the particle emitter is created automatically by clicking the plus sign on the mesh and assigning hair for the sprinkle spawn area. In Maya, there is an option called Mesh Distribute. This felt like distribute on points in Geometry Nodes Blender. After opening it, the emit source can be dragged to the input mesh. A further node was required to control the transforms menu, which the tutorial proceeds to add a random node onto the mesh options, enabling the scale, rotate and location options for the sprinkles. In Blender the features are there by default among other physics properties within the particle system. After that the parameters are kind of self-explanatory. In Blender I would weight paint and fix those parts, but I'm not sure how to access these equivalent features in Maya yet. And there you have it folks. My first experience of a modeling donut and sprinkle tutorial in Maya. This video helped me ease into Maya in a more unconventional but nice way for my first try. Do watch the video if you are a Blender user with zero Maya experience like me, and I will be learning the rest of the tutorial after this video. For the time being though, you can watch a quick time-lapse of making a simple donut in Blender. Thank you for watching and hope it was as informational to you as it was to me. Feel free to subscribe to my channel for future videos.